Dialogue, brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries. In the weeks ahead, you will see these and other programs by various denominations.
Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs series at the crossroads of religion and life. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues in the area in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Join us now for this week's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Ruth Landsberg, your host for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. You usually find me seated back there with my guests for a discussion of an important topic on this program. But today, we're stepping back to remember some of the special moments we've shared with you on that set this past year. We want to look at the important issues we covered, the interesting people we've met, and the special stories they've shared with all of us. And those stories ranged quite a spectrum. The spectrum included the significant international changes from the Middle East to the now-defunct Soviet Union. We tried to understand our changing world, and as we did, we found that Austinites were either affected by the change or contributing to make change throughout the world.
I pray for peace and hope for all the soldiers in the Persian Gulf, and that they will be home safely soon, and that the soldiers who are wounded will come back and become healthy and strong again. I also want to pray for the president and governments, and that they make a good decision. We are all God's children, so imagine how he feels about us killing and hurting each other. Pray for peace and that it comes soon. Amen.
2 weeks ago, we had about 50 kids, and we have 3 children's choirs, and they were all meeting, and we were having our supper when the news came over the radio that the war had begun. And these kids were there that Wednesday, and I had the task of telling them that the war had started, and we had been talking and dialoguing about that, and we proceeded to pray and then continued to dialogue about that, and came up with a prayer service for peace and justice the following Saturday, which the children actually participated and led with me, and that was very exciting.
It is a complicated decision, and I still miss this country very much, but I think that it was the right move. I believe that even now, when the country is more free, or maybe right now when the country is more free and you have an opportunity to live, everybody have to make his own decision, how he would like to live his single life. For me, the life when I can't feel myself really free and responsible for my choices is not a real life, and I don't want my son to have the same.
We're talking about a church that has been oppressed for so many decades, and now with the new openness in the church, you're finding the challenges in Christian education. They're able to do Christian education, and they've never done that before. Therefore, they need written resources as well as people to come over and work with them. There are opportunities for new church development. I've heard of a new church opening in the outskirts of Moscow, or the Baptists who told us that they want to start 6 new churches in Moscow alone, but they need help with financing the beginning of those churches.
Well, when we would come in contact with some people on the streets and outside the churches and the monasteries, they were very hopeful of a change coming. I don't think they expected what happened, but they always expressed that a better day was coming for them, and that they sensed it and they were happy, and that they always were optimistic about the future.
Closer to home this past year, we focused on our city, its future, and its problems. One issue that came to the forefront this year was that of street gangs in our city. Though Austin is now working on the problem with a task force in place, a solution seems far off. As for the police, they see the problem growing worse, as we learned firsthand.
And I've never seen the violence that we had in 1990 involving kids, and especially gang members. We had 8 kids that got killed, from 14 years old to 19 years old in 1 year, and that's 8 too many. We had 2 little kids that committed suicide trying to get out of gangs. They couldn't take the pressure. We had 125 kids that wound up at our hospitals, seriously hurt, as far as getting hurt seriously, trying to get in gangs, walking the line.
The fact that the university is located here in the capital city, the state capital, when we put that together with the marvelous physical setting of this city on the banks of the Colorado River in the hill country, Waller and Shoal Creek, and with its tremendous natural and built assets, that this vision of Austin as the capital city of the state should be realized. And I believe it is the conclusion of the team, and I think most of us here in Austin would share that conclusion, that the city does not now represent what it should represent as the capital of the state and as everybody's neighborhood.
What is our vision of the city? Well, our vision of the city is to bring economic development to an area of Austin that's been long neglected, East Austin area. Our vision is to improve the 11th Street, 12th Street corridor. And you have to look at some of those vision issues and say, there may be a dispute now, but if we accomplish that vision by this vote, then hopefully those differences of opinion will be taken care of in the long run. And you have to have a certain amount of trust with people to make sure we do the right thing. And there's some other avenues to take care of those problems down the line.
The name of our program is Austin Faith Dialogue, and our dialogue of local religious issues is always diverse. This year was no different. We talked about how Austin's churches and synagogues minister to our gay community, the ministerial resources for the deaf, and even how stress affects the clergy. In each case, the discussion was quite enlightening.
We have some Texas School for the Deaf students who attend our congregation, and then we have deaf people from the Austin community. And we focus on these 2 populations, the Texas School for the Deaf and the deaf community at large in Austin. We have people who come who are parents of deaf children, and we also have hearing children of deaf parents who attend our congregation. And then we have interested hearing people throughout the community who want to work with deaf people who come to our congregation. So those are the types of people that we have in our church, and we have voice interpreters for hearing people that attend our church.
My silent prayer for most of my life was, I don't want to be homosexual, take it away from me. Well, the prayer was not answered, or it was answered in a way that I didn't expect. And one could say, well, it wasn't answered, there is no God. And I don't accept that. But what I do accept, what I've come to believe, is that the higher power spoke to me and is basically happy with his handiwork, and that I need to be happy and get over it and struggle through and help others as they're struggling to grapple with these issues. Because the message that gay men and lesbians get from the institutions of our society is unconditional love, but...
2 of my very closest friends in the parish I served in California were about my age. One of them died of cancer 2 years ago, and the other one died of a coronary. And the third is undergoing quadruple bypass almost at this moment. That's kind of frightening. And I think a lot of that has to do with how we see ourselves and why we go into ministry in the first place.
Are you saying then a great deal of the stress that that clergy put upon themselves is self-initiated then, rather than being from, as Nancy and Ed have referred to, how the congregation or the parish sees them?
Well, I think it's a combination of that and also the situation of our times, because oftentimes clergy tend to be really sensitive to issues that are going on in the society, and often they're the only ones in the community or the only ones in the neighborhood. For instance, the average urban pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America makes between $22,000 and $28,000 a year. And in many cases, they're working in the South Bronx or in Brooklyn or in East Oakland or wherever. and they're working with little or no resources, and their families are deteriorating, their children are acting out, but they're called. And so it's a combination of who they are as well as the times, because who else is in those communities to deal with all those needs?
Death, it's a part of life. And each one of us at one point in our life will have to face the loss of someone close to us. But often more traumatic than the loss is how the death occurs. How to survive death became an important topic on our program this past year. The stories of our guests were often painful, but they communicated a powerful message, a will to live.
My experience over those years is that people who take an active part in their medical treatment along with their medical team seem to do a little better. And when I say do better, I include manage their treatments with fewer side effects, recover from surgeries a little quicker, maybe use a little less pain medication, maybe even survive their disease longer. There's a whole range of things that people can do to improve the quality of their life, possibly even the length of their life during the time that they're ill. So that's the general position from which we come, and I come to that position from experience, not from some sort of empty hope, but from watching people do it.
It's not just blind faith that
No,
it makes a difference.
We're not in the faith healing business, but in the actually offering people tools that they can use, and those tools come from experience of the people who have helped themselves.
12 or 15 of us who were really close, and when an element was just gone, it was this mixture of conflicting emotions. You hated what he did, you hated what he put you through, and what you're feeling right now, and you say, I'll never do that, I'll never hurt my friends like that, but at the same time, the pain is so great, it's a selfish feeling, but you want to end it yourself. You don't want to sit here and feel this pain knowing that this person is never coming back, and that you're never going to see them again, you're never going to see them in the cafeteria or pass them by in the hallway. They're gone. And you don't know how to stop feeling that way. And so it's this great conflicting of emotions, and I can see where the contagion comes from, because I will admit that I felt that way. I mean, a month or so afterwards, I'm going, oh, I don't understand anything. I didn't understand why he did it. I didn't understand why I couldn't help him. I couldn't understand why he didn't tell me. I couldn't understand why he didn't reach out to anyone.
Well, those are a lot of big questions.
Yeah.
So how did you work through all of those? Tons of questions you had.
My tons of questions, most of them had to go unanswered. And for a long time, I went searching for answers and just kept getting consistently disappointed. So I had to pretty much reconcile myself to the fact that there are going to be things that I'm not going to understand. And I have to learn from them, and I'm more aware now. If somebody has a problem or they sound even the least bit suicidal, they have my undivided attention.
And I want to be real clear with people that for that first year, you've got to go through each birthday, holiday, anniversary without that significant person perhaps for the first time in 40 years or 50 years. Or if it's an infant, you're going through anticipated times without that person. So you can anticipate things may get worse, at least for the first year and possibly beyond that. So that people really need to hear that to cut themselves some slack on a time frame. I have people come in my office, Janice I'm sure has this too, feeling guilty that it's been 6 months or 9 months and they're not feeling better. And I want to assure them this is pretty normal.
They start feeling worse, really, if they're doing their work.
Because the grief process is painful.
It's so painful.
Yes. And there's no getting around it.
And they think they're going crazy because they're supposed to be getting better. And
everybody tells me, time heals all wounds, I should be getting over this.
But they're feeling worse. And once they hear or read that it's normal and that they're okay, it's a tremendous relief.
Well, what does heal?
I think your phrase you said, the clock's not ticking.
Clock's not ticking.
You know, there's no time that you have to do this with 6 months and this within...
And sort of some of the rules of thumb that it takes a year or 2 years to get over somebody's death may or may not work.
I want to be real clear about that. I don't think you ever get over the death in that sense. And people use medical terminology on what is a psycho-spiritual process. People talk about getting on with or getting over as though you break your arm or you get over the flu, and you should get over for me, the image is more of a tapestry image. Our lives are tapestries. And the death of a close loved one is a gaping, ripping, bleeding hole in the tapestry of your life. So the question is really then, how does that tapestry get rewoven? Well, it doesn't magically over time fit back together. What happens, my image for that is, that the survivor reaches in and pulls those threads together using their strength, ties them off, and then allows others from their caring community to snip threads off their tapestries, bring them in and tie them off. So that with that kind of loving, caring interaction, compassionate interaction, over time and with a lot of work, the tapestry gets rewoven.
It's said that all the world's a stage. Well, if that's so, Austin Faith Dialogue's stage was busy this year. We had puppeteers perform, an actor portrayed O. Henry, and we enjoyed several musical performances. Good drama can often communicate strong, powerful messages, and we discovered just that when the St. Andrews Players visited our program and used a story from the Old Testament book of Judges to illustrate that very point.
Can you see after your head's been cut off?
I don't know.
I don't either. I was just wondering, when your head's rolling away, can you look back and see the rest of you lying at the altar? And could you hear?
It's a burnt offering.
You can probably hear, but you'd be rolling too fast to see very much.
They don't kill you before they burn you?
Who's they? My father will be doing this.
I'm not talking about you. I was talking in general. I wanted to know in general about heads rolling.
Well, only those whose heads have rolled know about it, and they're dead, all of them.
I'm not adult, and neither is my father.
I hate sacrifices. Every pet I've ever owned has been sacrificed. And now my best friend. I hate sacrifices. I wish they'd never been thought of.
Who thought of them?
I don't know, but I hope they're happy.
God thought of them. That's why Cain killed Abel.
I never did understand that story.
That's because you don't have any brothers.
Abel offered up his best stuff to God, and Cain offered up leftovers. God naturally liked Abel's sacrifice better, so Cain broke his head with a rock.
The first person to ever have a brother killed him.
What I was asking about is people being sacrificed.
Abraham and Isaac. They got all the way to the altar with a knife about to slice, and then God stopped it and took a ram instead. Could you tie up a ram somewhere near the altar, just in case?
How about a sheep?
I think a ram would be better.
Oh, I'm kind of scared of rams. They're mean.
Thanks a lot, friend.
Well, where am I going to get a ram? I don't have any
just
rams.
Forget it.
Well, how would your father know if he was supposed to use a ram instead of you?
God would tell him.
God talks to your father?
My father's very important. He's the commander.
God has never talked to her father.
Of course God's talked to my father. How do you think I got into this mess?
Well, excuse me, but sacrificing people is against the law. I doubt that God ever told your father to do anything.
Really?
Really.
I wouldn't do it if God didn't say it.
I will not let my father go back on his word. He brought me into the world.
Your mother brought you into the world.
I'll never bring anyone into the world.
Well, there's too many people in the world as it is already, and all they ever do is argue and fight. If people wouldn't pick on each other all the time, then there wouldn't have been a battle to have a sacrifice over.
My father has freed Israel from the Ammonites, and I am one of the soldiers who was killed in the battle. I fought with the men. I'm a warrior, and I died valiantly.
But
I'm a soldier, and I'm dead.
I hate you when you're like this.
Like what?
Pious.
He will have seen me come into the world out of my mother's womb, and he will have seen me grow up and have his training and manners and kisses, and he will have cut me open to bleed until dead, and he will have laid me across a rocky altar and set fire to my body, and he will smell my burning flesh.
and he will cry for me as I go up into the sky and make a cloud. Born by his passion, dead by his decision. I am obedient, and so I am free.
Now, how can you be obedient and free at the same time?
I'm obedient to hope.
This is so sad.
Oh. Don't hit her.
Oh, I can't take it. I can't stay up here the whole time with her.
This past year was an exciting year on Austin Faith Dialogue, but one moment in particular stands out. It was a program that showed the strength of one local program trying to overcome the tough odds of Austin's Near East Side. The group tries to give back to the community and make it better. This remarkable organization is called Manos de Cristo.
This is how people come to Manos de Cristo. Then most of the time they need the food, and they come, and while taking the orders, we talk to them, or I talk to them, and find out about all the other needs they have. And it's through the food that I refer them to all of our other programs if they need clothes or if they need legal assistance. And that's how we start, from the food.
The need is immediate. Like I said, our policy would from the very start was we are not going to provide, let's say, fish every time that you come. We're going to go ahead and provide fish the first time, then we're going to teach you how to fish so you can provide for your own.
Every patient that comes here wants to see that same doctor again, or almost every patient, they request to see that doctor again. And because they, maybe for whatever reason, they don't realize that most of the people that come here because they want to be here and they're going to be treated good.
The staff, I would have to say the staff first, because without them, I don't think that the children would be able to go home with smiles, and I would not be able to sleep well. The church here has been wonderful and always been behind us and supporting our program. They've, the board of directors, as you know, part of them come from the church membership. We have some parents from the actual child care center that come in, and we have community representatives from the city who come in and make the realm of our board. And in turn, allowing us to feel real relaxed with the families, and of course the children are the ones that give us a lot of inspiration. We want to make sure that we serve everybody, and we don't have any kind of, criteria where it says you have to be just poor, or you have to be, so many in the family, you have to work at this level or maintain this kind of an income. We serve everyone, which tells the community, I think, that we're open to everyone. If we had more funding, and I know that people are always crying about more funding. I'm one of these that I hate to do this part, but it has to be done, because it's not for myself that I'm asking for the funding, but it's for the kids. We have 3 hot meals a day here for them, but we are one of the very few in town. There are other centers that have had to cut their meal program because they cannot financially afford it. I would like for us to tear this building down and build a brand new one up. I think church memberships have the capacity. All they have to do is get on their knees and say, God, lead the way, and it can be done. Build a brand new daycare center with everything that the children need, and then have accessibility to providing more for the children, not only in East Austin, but throughout the city. How can we expect our children to dream of becoming doctors and attorneys and pastors if they have the basic materials to work with? If they have the minimum of everything, how can we allow them to say, how would you like to become president of the United States? Well, what is that? When I'm living in a home where my dad or my mom is so poor that we can't even, go out for a hamburger. So that's what I want. I want us to invite the churches, invite the community into giving our children a priority, making them #1 in the list. And I find that it's difficult for them to do that because children do not vote. And they're not like me. I can be a real neg. I can just keep coming back and back and say, I want, because I'm an adult. People have to listen to me. Children can't. You know, and I've learned this from the kids. You know, I've seen some of the babies that go, Miss Reese, I want to go outside and play. I'm saying, fine, we're going in a few minutes. They come back and say, well, a few minutes have gone by. I want to go outside and play. So I've learned from them that if I really want things for the children, we need to keep asking the community. And it's for their benefit. Because if we enrich their lives at this age, I doubt seriously that they're going to be living off of the society when they're adults.
The thing that bothers me the most is knowing that when they go home, their parents might not give them the attention that they need, not just in schoolwork, but in everything, because they need help in different areas, you know, not just school. I see them wanting someone just to talk to play with, just to sit there and listen to them. When they come, they're just ready to tell us everything. You know, they're so full of energy, and I just feel that they don't get a lot of that at home, a lot of that attention that they need. That they are capable of doing it if they just put their minds to it, if they just try. To give them self-esteem that maybe their parents don't give them, to let them know that they are intelligent, that they are creative.
As we were trying to meet the needs of individuals in the clothes closet, in the food pantry, in the dental clinic, people would say, I have this problem, and I can't find anybody to advise me about it. And different aspects of the program, before there was a legal program, kept getting requests for, do you know somebody who can help me with a legal problem? And so it was then what we decided that there was enough legal talent in the community that could participate in this, that we could provide this sort of a service.
The way the clinic has run for me has been take each day as it comes, and looking into the future is not, I really haven't been dreaming like I did when we first opened the clinic. Just the day-to-day tasks take up so much time that I guess I don't usually see much past the end of the week. I usually take care of each day as it comes. Well, I think it's the lack of time that we have with each patient, and the fact that we're not able to educate them as to things that they might be able to do to avoid this in the future.
Like the dental clinic, we could go ahead and start a medical clinic. We don't have any medical attention.
I think the holistic approach, taking care of their medical needs as well as their dental needs, is definitely, you know, because a lot of times we've got, you know, I don't know if you want a specific case, but we have a specific case where the woman has been told on several occasions she needs to go get her chest x-rayed. She has not. And we can't refer her to any place specific, or we can't make her do that either. And if we offered that here, hey, then it's taken care of.
So the need is going to be there whether Manos de Cristo is here or not. As far as the particular location, that is subject to speculation because of the fact that we're right next to here, Interstate 35, 2 blocks. Convention Center is coming in 5 or 6 blocks further down. So no telling where Manos de Cristo will be 5 or 10 years from now. But we would definitely like for an organization such as this to be serving the needs of the people.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministry